Hello and welcome to Your County. I'm your host, Lynn Turner Fitzgerald. Joining me today is Elections Administrator KV Aldrich and Chief Election Judge Pat Leikam. I want to thank both of you for being here. It's election season, busy time. I'm going to start with you, KV. Is there anything maybe different for this federal election that we need to pay attention to?
Well, the one thing I want all the residents in Yellowstone County who are voters here to know is that because of the decennial redistricting, the polling places may have changed. So if they didn't vote in the primary, if they did go to the primary and they didn't find their name in the register and they had to vote a provisional ballot, we want to make sure that they get to the right polling place, especially if they're in that eastern portion of our county. There was a lot of changes to those polling places. So if they would go to voterportal.mt.gov, they can look up and see, are they an absentee voter? Are they a polling place voter? Where is their polling place if they are a polling place voter? And Lynn, I'll tell you, some people don't understand what an absentee voter is. So if I can just take a minute.
Please do, because I don't think I do.
Yeah, so an absentee voter just means that that voter prefers to receive their ballot by mail. And in Yellowstone County, we do a lot of other elections, little small, like school elections or municipal elections, and those are all mail ballot elections. So a voter might say, well, I get my ballots by mail all the time. But in fact, anybody in those smaller elections where we don't have polling places will get their ballot by mail. So they may have elected in a federal election to be a polling place voter, and that means that they physically have to go in and show up in person at their polling place. So we want to make sure those people get to the right spot to be able to cast their ballot on election day.
Well, is it too late to opt in to be an absentee voter?
It sure isn't. People can change any of their details of their registration in regular registration up until the close of regular registration. That's on October 7th. On October 8th, we have what's called late registration. And the only difference between those things is that in late registration, you have to physically come in to get your ballot. So if you tell us, if you mail us a registration form, you've got updates to your address, you want to become an absentee, you want to change to a polling place, you can do all of that. But you need to do it before the close of late registration. Otherwise, you're going to be coming in person to get your ballot.
Okay, tell me again, late registration ends?
That ends at 5 p.m. on October 7th. Okay. So on October 8th, that's the day that people need to start coming in person to be able to get their ballots or make changes to their registration.
Well, if it still happens that someone goes to the wrong polling place and their name is not there, does that election judge sitting there know where they should go? Do they have that information available?
So there's two things that they have there at the polling place. They'll have the register of electors who are meant to be at that polling place. So the first sign would be they're not in that polling place book. And because our late registration moves so it's usually at the courthouse. Normal business hours, except for Columbus Day, we're going to be closed. And we're open until the day before Election Day at noon, and then it's closed from noon until 5 the day before Election Day, and then all of late registration moves over to Metro Park. So if there's any kind of a problem, a voter's not sure if they're supposed to be voting somewhere, we can solve all of those problems at Metro Park. So voters should go, if they're not sure, just go to Metro Park. We'll make sure you get your right ballot and get you voting there.
And you're open 7 to 8?
So regular business hours at the courthouse until Election Day. On Election Day itself, at Metro Park Pavilion, at our polling places, at the courthouse, we'll be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Wow. Okay, it's a long day.
Yeah, it is a long day.
Could be a long day. Well, Pat, I want to thank you for being here. You have been an election judge. Now you're a chief election judge for how long?
Over 25 years.
Wow. Does it get easier?
No.
Tell me about your day. Tell me, what is a typical election day for an election judge?
It begins in stages. Our first stage is fluffing.
What is that?
We're opening the envelopes.
Oh.
And then we are stamping. Then we are stuffing. And then we are, at that point, the ballots are placed in the envelopes and getting ready for mailing. And then that procedure is completed. And you're looking at what, 100,000 ballots or
We have about 104,000 ready to go. Of those, about 78,000 for our absentees.
Wow. So let's go back to the fluffing.
That's hard.
I'm a little confused. So you have a sealed ballot in
Not
front
yet.
of you. So this is election day.
Oh, election day.
Yes.
That's another process.
Okay, well, let's stick with fluffing. When does fluffing occur?
It occurred last Monday. It's getting ready for the mailing of the ballots.
Okay, so you hand stuff these and mail them out.
Yes.
Wow.
And we hand stamp them.
That they're an official election ballot.
Oh, I see. Okay. Your hands must get really dry.
Not so much dry, but your hands start hurting after a while
I
because you're
imagine.
stamping, and your arm muscles. But you develop, we're toned.
Sure. Oh, yeah. It's that upper body
Yes,
strength
we
that
have
counts.
upper body
Who
strength.
knew? I mean, who knew it took that to be an election judge?
That's right.
So how many people are there with you doing, and you get it all done in one day?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no.
okay.
The fluffing we can, but we had, 9, 10 people doing it. Plus, we did other things to prepare for the election. There's a long process of little things that have to get done that are required to be done. Putting, the registration booklets together. Those have to be checked and double checked. There's a long process of items that we have to complete in order to make sure that the election is fair.
Yeah. Well, what about the ballot itself? That has to be triple, quadruple checked.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
So tell me about that process.
So we just had our last write-in deadline for state candidates that just passed last week. So the ballot, there's a certification deadline. We have a county certification deadline, and then there is a state certification deadline. Once those deadlines have passed, the ballot is static, and we know to send that off to the people who arrange what the face of the ballot is going to look like. And we go through several iterations. The first version of that ballot is never perfect. So in this past time, we went through 5 iterations. We are checking, we have 59 different ballot styles this time in Yellowstone County. So our election judges like Patt are helping us proof those ballot faces, and every time we have a number, we have to check and make sure, do they have all the correct races? Are the names all correct? Are they in the right rotation? So in elections like these, for fairness to the candidates, we rotate which candidate is at the top of the list, but they're always in alphabetical order by their last name. So that rotation may change, and we want to make sure that that's evenly spread throughout those 59 ballot faces. So there's a huge checklist we go through, and our election judges like Pat are spending hours making sure that every iteration of these ballots is perfect, and whenever they're not exactly perfect, we send them back and make changes.
59 different ballots?
Yeah, because we have 59 different precincts here in Yellowstone County. We actually had a lot more, we had what we call precinct splits, where a particular precinct might have had a question that only some voters get in the primary, and that was because of those study questions. But in this election, we don't have those precinct splits, so we're seeing one ballot face per precinct, so we've got 59 ballots to deal with.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did that process begin?
Well, it really began during redistricting. So after the decennial census, the commissioners look at the county and they divide it up into precincts. The Montana state law tells us how many voters are, it's a sort of cap on the amount of voters in a precinct. So they're trying to balance the amount of voters, so we have about an approximately equal amount, but they have to also nest within the House and Senate districts that are drawn by the State Apportionment Commission. So it starts at the state level, they draw the House and Senate districts, and then it flows down to the county where the commissioners draw the precincts, and then the precincts determine where our polling places are.
So are there any other county or state officials that proofread these ballots before they go out, or is it strictly up to your office?
The Secretary of State assists us because they're in charge of the state races. They will assist us, but ultimately our county is responsible for our own ballots.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So now, Pat, being an election judge, you are there for the whole day on election day?
Oh, yes. Plus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That works some very long hours for us.
really?
Yeah.
And what is that day like?
It's very interesting. It's challenging. We have a job to do, and we are striving to get it done. And that's to ensure that all the votes and ballots that come in are counted correctly, audited, and placed to be counted through the machines. There's a check-in or a check-out process throughout the whole day as far as numbers are concerned, to ensure that the numbers that we receive are the numbers that are balancing out for the ballots that were sent. It's just, the time goes by really fast. You don't know that you've been there for 18 hours.
I bet I would. So, you know, it's really apparently been a long time since I've voted at the polling place. So if I walk in and I'm voting for the first time, what happens to me? What is my process?
Basically, you're going to go and there's people there. We're going to greet you and make sure that you get to the right place. You're going to sign in. You're going to show you're going to show ID. Then you'll sign in, and then
That's important, isn't it?
yes, and then you will be given a ballot, and you will be able to vote.
And are you in private when you're voting?
Yes.
I kind of
yes.
remember that curtains
Yes.
or something, right?
Yes, you go behind the curtain.
Right. Okay.
You don't get a deal, but you go behind the curtain.
Always good to have a sense of humor if you're going to be an election judge.
That's right.
I think it's a real benefit.
If I were, when I was at Mentor, I'm now in the audit entering, but when I was there, if you were a first-time voter, I had a bell and I rang it and I
awesome.
screamed and yelled. It's just,
We have a new voter.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I think it's such a privilege to vote.
What kind of questions do you take during the day on election day?
In my position now, it's all technical questions. So, but when I was, in the polling areas, it's what do I do, or a fear of, what's next, or where do I go, and why is this, and is my name right there? I
Yeah.
mean, people.
Does anybody ever come to you and say, I made a mistake, I marked the wrong
yes.
ballot, can I have a
Yes.
new ballot?
Yes.
And that's okay.
Right. We have to void that ballot out.
Right,
We
okay.
have to make sure our registers show that it was, voided, because we have to
Yeah,
have an accurate
right.
count at the end of the night. And then they're reissued a new ballot. It happens,
Sure.
and so we'll take care of it.
Well, it's good to know that if somebody does make an error, they can start all over again.
Right.
For sure.
They can.
And they can have that vote count. Now, this year in Butte, there was a discrepancy of some 1,000 ballots, I think, or something, that 1,000 more came in than were issued, or it was something, but it turned out to be okay.
Yeah, so I'm not fully briefed on what happened in Butte, but what I've heard is that they're test ballots. So we have to test all the machines before Election Day. We're required to do that. And it sounded to me like what likely happened is that they had tested all their machines, they had uploaded those test results, and then they did not clear their test results before running the additional ballots. So there's a lot of checks that we have, there's a lot of checklists, but it's simply a case of human error.
Yeah.
We do the best we can, and they were able to isolate the particular problem. What we want to see is at our canvas is that we're presenting all those numbers to our board of canvassers, and so we can say, here's how many ballots we sent out, here's how many we counted, here's the discrepancy, and here's why we think that happened.
Okay. So to be an election judge, are you a volunteer?
I am a temporary worker.
Oh, okay. Well,
Volunteers who are paid. Yeah, we
Yes,
do
we're-
pay them, but
You do?
they certainly don't. They're doing it out of a sense of patriotism, and I mean the people that we get are really incredible. Our elections in Yellowstone County, as across Montana, you know, these are our fellow citizens, our fellow Yellowstone County voters. They're all Yellowstone County registered voters who are our election judges. So we run our own elections. We've trained over 400 election judges to work, and we're always looking for more. So if people are interested, they can always go to our website and go to the election judge tab, and then there's a little application that kind of basically it tells us what are you interested in doing. We have a lot of different kinds of jobs. So Pat has worked from the top to the bottom. She has been involved at polling places. She now works in our counting center. So, you know, for instance, people say those absentee ballots that come back in, does somebody actually look at those signatures? And I can tell you Pat's one of our election judges who looks at every single signature on those ballots. So if people are interested in being an election judge, we're always looking for more. We're kind of at a tipping point now where people work such long hours. We'd like to be able to offer split shifts, but we don't quite have enough people to do that yet. So we're always looking for more people.
what's the training like for an election judge? Is it long?
There's a core training that's required, and it's about 2 hours, and we do that every 2 years. So if somebody misses when we do our last training, we'll let them know, hey, we're going to have future trainings. We're going to keep you in the queue, but it might be a while because it's essentially a 2-year training. And then that's just the core training, which really talks about what happens at polling places. These other jobs like Pat does, there's a lot of on-the-job training. There's a lot of additional training that happens afterward.
So when you're looking at the signatures, Pat, what are you looking for?
That they're signing the way they should be signing.
Do you have to compare it with another signature?
Yes, we compare it with the registration
Really?
cards. Yes, every signature.
Ouch. That's got to be a little painful on the eyes.
You develop a way of recognizing signatures. You're looking at letters.
Right.
You're not looking at the total names.
Sure.
It can be, you know, hard on the eyes, but as we tell each other it's time to get up and walk away and blink.
Well, so let's say you have a ballot in front of you and it's registered to Mary Brown. You see Mary Brown's signature there. How do you find Mary Brown's other signature? Where's
it's on
that?
computer.
Oh, okay. So easy access. You're not handling a lot of paper, just the one
You're
ballot.
handling each individual ballot,
Right,
and
but-
you're looking at the screen as you're doing it.
Okay.
So
Okay. Now, what is a poll watcher?
That's an individual who is a community member or they're designated by a party to come and just observe what's going on. So a poll worker is basically another title for an election judge. A poll watcher is somebody who can walk in off the street and says, I want to see what you're doing. I want to see that your elections are free and fair. Usually poll watchers are designated by parties, otherwise you're just an observer, and we welcome both. But poll watchers kind of have a special they have a special job in that they'll often sit behind a particular precinct and they'll listen to hear the names of people who have shown up to vote. So the election judges will call that name out, and the poll watcher is saying, okay, this person has showed up to vote. So they're doing things generally on behalf of a party as opposed to a member of the public who wants to see the election processes.
And has that been going on forever?
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Because it seems like in the last few years there have been, some contentious events with poll watchers. Do we find that here in Yellowstone County?
not a lot, but there are some, and you just need to clarify what the rules are. They're allowed to sit behind us. They're allowed to
Sit behind you, the poll judge, or the election judge?
election judges. They can sit behind the tables.
Can they see anything?
Yes, they can see. They can't see how the voter is voting.
Okay, okay.
But
This is at the polling place.
Yes,
right,
yes, yeah.
And so they can sit behind, but they cannot, question the voter. They can only hear the name because that's required that the name is given out loud, so that each ballot judge can do whatever they need to do. But that's it. Sometimes.
Yeah, but what prevents a poll watcher from claiming fraud, even though there is none? I mean, are they vetted in any way? Do they have
No.
qualifications?
No, a poll watcher can be any member of the community that wants to, that, again, a poll watcher, generally a party, an observer by the community. We welcome both.
Yeah.
But they are potted plants. Election day is for the elector. So we're there to do our jobs to make sure that the
Right.
election is being administered. They are there, they're free to watch, but that's their job. And to the extent that they start disrupting the election in real time, they're going to be removed. But what prevents them from claiming fraud later? There's nothing that prevents anybody from saying whatever they want about our elections. But what we want to show is that we're open and transparent,
Yeah.
and we want to show them, anybody who asks, here's what our processes are. You can come down and see them. You can see if this person is telling the truth.
Right.
Come see with your own eyes.
So they are not, though, allowed to engage with the voters?
No.
Correct.
Okay. Photographs. Can they take photos?
We have certain rules concerning our polling places. We don't want, there's a secrecy of the ballot. We don't want any photos of voted ballots. So we ask that people who want to use their phones or media, that they are going to be doing that stuff outside. We do allow the media to do sort of panning, where they're not focusing on ballots or anything like that. So there are rules, and we give those rules to our observers and our poll watchers when they arrive.
Do you have any method of determining what the total outcome, not the outcome, but the number of voters, number of ballots will be in any election?
Before,
Yeah, do you have any way of knowing this is going to be a big election, there's going to be a lot of people voting, maybe not so many?
sure, yeah, well, it's always kind of a guessing game.
Yeah.
So I'm a relatively new election administrator, and so the primary was my first. I had to order ballots for my first federal election. And so I am trying to make sure that we have enough ballots for everybody at the polling place.
Right.
That if people need replacement ballots, we have enough printed for them. That we have enough for late registration. But because we have people moving in and out because of late registration, it's always a bit of a guessing game. So, we can look at trends over time. In the primary, we had about 42% of voters return their ballots, which were counted. And but in our last, in 2020, which was an all-mail ballot election because of COVID, we had an 81% turnout in the federal general. So the federal general before that, I think, was in the low 70s. So we're probably looking at something in maybe the mid 70s. In terms of how many ballots we think will be returned in Yellowstone County, but you never know till
You just don't
election
know, do
day.
you?
Yeah.
What about unused ballots? Is there a method of destroying them?
Yeah, we keep a chain of custody for all of our ballots. We are tracking every single ballot. In fact, when we print a ballot, there is a serial number at the bottom. It's called a stub number. And every single ballot has a unique stub number. We remove those stub numbers when we give them to the voter because we want to protect their voter confidentiality of their vote. But that's how we're tracking all of our ballots,
Yeah.
is those stub numbers. So when we issue a ballot to somebody, we know exactly what the stub number is. We can go into our system, we can see if we have voided and reissued, maybe they've asked for a couple. We know exactly which ones we voided, how many we've sent them, the stub numbers of those ballots, and we're able to, so I am keeping track of how many I print with the printer. I have a chain of custody all the way through the election. We keep all of that sealed for 2 years after a federal election. In
Wow.
case there was any question, a
Wow.
court needed to reopen anything, we have all of those paper files.
That's a lot of paper.
It is a lot of
We've
paper.
only got a couple of minutes left here. I'm wondering, is there any important information that I missed here Anything that you want voters to know or potential voters to know?
Yeah, I would like to ask voters, Election Day is a long day, and the things that our election judges like Pat have to do for absentee voters to verify their identity, it's a several step process. We have to open the envelopes, separate the envelopes, check those signatures. It takes time. And voters want to know results immediately, and we want to give them results immediately, but we want to be able to make sure that we have as much done when we can do it. So if voters, if you're an absentee voter, you get your ballot back in the mail, you've studied your issues, you're ready to vote, go ahead and get that ballot back to us as soon as possible. Because
it'll be opened and then pre-counted?
It doesn't get pre-counted until it will stay sealed until the Thursday before the election.
Okay.
Then we open them and we flatten them to get them ready for the tabulator. We start counting on Monday. The election is on Tuesday. Those results are confidential until the close of polls. But we do all of this prep work to get everything ready. And if we have a giant mass of people surging in on Election Day, dropping off those absentee ballots, it delays when we can, effectively report our results.
Right.
So we are asking people, please return those ballots as soon as you can. They can go to that voterportal.mt.gov. You can see the status of your ballot. You can see if we got it back.
Really?
And if it's ready to be counted.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. I learned a lot today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Both of you. Good luck, Pat, on Election Day.
Well, I would just like to say to people that if you want a change, you've got to get involved. So whatever you can do to assist, just get out there and vote.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I will. Thanks again for being here, and
Well,
thank you
thank
for
you.
joining us on Your County. As Pat said, please get out and vote. We'll see you next time.